Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to the witnesses for your helpful testimony. I want to return to the chairman's opening comments where he introduced an article into the record and talked about the recent discussion of the Kenyan president in China about this new world order. Let me read from an article that I'd like introduced in the record. Kenya calls for a new world order that reflects global South realities, and this is from KBC Digital, the Kenya Broadcasting Company, if I could introduce it into the record. From April 23, just recently. Speaking during a public lecture at Peking University in Beijing, President William Ruto emphasized the need to fashion a new world order which takes cognizance of present realities. The president who is in China for a state visit, okay, China is welcoming the Kenyan president for a state visit, said this: the ongoing trade tariff wars could signal the end of the old world order as it has existed since the end of World War II. And further, regarding the relationship between Kenya, China, and the rest of the world, Ruto remarked that Kenya and China are not just trade partners, but, quote, co-architects of a new world order. So his comments are putting the U.S. in the old world order that has not helped the global South. This is what he is asserting, whether or not it's true, how true it is. He's suggesting that the trade wars might be the destruction of the old world order and the creation of a new world order where China and Kenya and other nations focus more attention on the global South. How do we get to a place where the president of Kenya, where we've had this long relationship just 2 weeks ago, is making those assertions in the middle of a state visit to China? I do think comments that have been made by my colleagues, the recent apparent abandonment of PEPFAR, the defunding of USAID, NED, the DFC, the MCC, the YALI program, which also has a presence at the University of Virginia. AFRICOM is not based in Africa and has perennially been under-resourced. It's based in Germany. Picking a fight with South Africa, a pretty important nation, and labeling them as committing genocide against Afrikaan farmers, accepting Afrikaner refugees while we're shutting off other refugees from Africa. Mr. Servi, you used to work with Church World Service. Church World Service work on refugee issues has been dramatically curtailed. The church I go to is heavily Congolese refugees who have been resettled in Richmond by Catholic Refugee Service. Their work has been curtailed. You know, we don't get the benefit of the doubt necessarily, and people look at evidence and they interpret it as to what it means. And what they're interpreting, the evidence that I've cited and other bits of evidence, is that the U.S. is, you know, to put it charitably, uninterested, and to put it not so charitably, affirmatively disinterested. And that leads a president like President Ruto to make those kinds of comments, almost gleefully hoping that Donald Trump's tariff war will destroy the world order that the U.S. created in the aftermath of World War II to the benefit not only of the United States, but other nations all over the world. We've got to reverse this. We have to reverse it. And I hear this all over Latin America as I travel there. We'd rather deal with you than with China. I think in the Americas, there's even a closer cultural connection because of migration patterns and family ties, but there are with Africa as well. We'd rather deal with you than China, but you got to have something on the table. And China does, and they're not going anywhere. And yeah, the conditions may be bad, and yeah, there are strings attached, and yeah, they may not perform, but they got something on the table. What do you have on the table? The things we've had on the table are being hollowed out. And you know, we can wring our hands about this all we want in this committee, but if we keep wringing out the architecture of the relationships with Africa or other parts of the world, China's got stuff on the table. They're going to continue to. I don't know so much about Russia or Iran. Their staying power. China's going to have staying power. I wanted to ask you, Ambassador Gavin, one question, and you were getting to it sort of at the end of the Q&A with Senator Cornyn. I thought it was intriguing in your comments, your opening comments about, hey, let's look at East Africa in connection with Yemen. You know, we divide CENTCOM from AFRICOM. We divide in this committee, you know, Africa from the MENA region. Talk a little bit about what a coordinated Red Sea strategy might look like.
Sure. Well, I think that it would require convening both the African side of the Red Sea and the powers there with these Gulf actors who are clearly intervening to try and stake out influence and territory, and trying to tease out what exactly are the core security concerns that these actors are worried about, and what is a more opportunistic approach. And ultimately, these two regions are going to need to build an institutional security architecture, and we can assist with that. But our own thinking about U.S. security in the Red Sea, in the Bab el-Mandeb, and the Gulf of Aden, we need to be thinking much more holistically and bringing the expertise from our different communities to bear. And I do really recommend USIP's work on this. They've been doing incredibly important work on this issue for a long time.
Yield back. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.